Hey everyone, Messenger here. Bear with me for just a bit. I'm trying to get everyone on the line here before we kick things off. And reminder for self that I need to put some sort of music in here, like a little groove to lay down so that we can just kind of sit back and know when the show actually starts. So hang tight, we'll be there soon. Alrighty, bullies, welcome. This is the inaugural podcast for what I'm calling members only. So, by the way, I am your host, Sub Messenger. A couple of weeks back, I pitched this idea with Frost and JNP and decided that what we wanted to do was kind of take site politics and just kind of, shooting the shit and messing around with each other to a different level. So we want to remove that from our main podcast and kind of have this area here where we can all get together and bash on each other verbally. So this is what this is going to be. Hopefully every Tuesday night I'll be doing this. Sorry for the delay here. I was waiting for, as soon as I said I'm doing this, everybody wanted to come in. So hopefully we'll have Frost here. We may have JMP coming on. We may have a couple others joining us as well. Let me start with what I have on the screen right now. So, just a little while ago, we released episode 6 of our podcast. This is on recent police shootings. So this would be, the incident in Dallas, for example, things like that. So we had longtime forum member Derek Divas on with us. He is our baby lawyer that is still in incubation. He's not quite a fully fledged lawyer yet, but he is about to be, and really smart dude. A lot of experience with firearms. Obviously, he is. Oh, look at that! We got someone ringing in. Let's see if we can get this going. Hello, Dr. Gonzo. You are live. Welcome to the cast.
Sub Messenger. Who else is on?
You're the first one to actually show up. We got possibly Frost coming on, possibly BKR, possibly JNP. I think five's a crowd for tonight. But what I was just getting into, I was just kind of introducing this as kind of the first episode of what we want to be, what I call members only. So this will be the place for us to shoot the shit and bash on each other verbally. So let me just cover the ground rules. We are on a delay. So I can dump the audio if anything untoward happens. But that gives me the ability to bring other members on, right? So I only have one rule. Well, I only have two rules. So the first rule is we go by our forum names, no PII, right? No doxing each other, that kind of stuff. We're here to shoot the shit and have fun, just like an audio-visual version of the forums. And rule number two is if you fuck up on rule number one, I will dump the audio. It will not air, and you will not be welcome back. So other than that, welcome.
Thank you. So I'm using that one microphone headset I got, the cheaper one, so we'll see how the quality goes.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound too bad, but we'll see when this thing gets uploaded, if I didn't totally screw it up, if it's any good at all.
Roger that.
Oh, yeah, see, that sounded good, actually, right there. I need to kind of face into the microphone myself and kind of get a little jiggy with it, you know what I mean? So anyway, I was just introducing, we just released episode 6 of the podcast. Things are doing really well with the podcast. We're picking up audience every time. What we want to see is being able to put out more and more of these kind of episodes where we go in depth, in detail into the various issues. We do have a little bit of levity in there, a little bit of humor, but mainly, we're either speaking from the heart or we're speaking from facts. And so that is the point behind that particular show. Which is not this show. This show, we can say whatever the fuck we want. Asshole.
Obviously. It would seem to me, and I must admit, this is horrible to admit, I have not listened to the podcast yet, but if you could bring on two experts, each in a different direction, then with some forum members, like that could be a decent show.
I'm sorry, say that again. Skype is like throwing up messages at me, and I was trying to figure it out. And by the way, I'm going to share out my screen so you can actually see what I'm looking at. I need to do that.
All right. If on any given topic you brought in two experts, each with a slightly different point of view, or even better, an opposing point of view, that could be a pretty good show.
Yeah, I think so. And I would really like to see that happen. And so this is kind of the development arena for that. This could be like a debate area for us. Actually, that would be fun if we had like, instead of having like presidential debates, we had bullshito debates.
Right.
Right. I could sit here as a moderator and say, no, you're done, and then cut off your microphone. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I know you love power.
Yeah, I love electricity. That's why I don't live in California.
Right. I love cheap electricity. I'm all for coal. Every time Rabbit posts something on the forum saying like no coal, I'm like, asshole. I love cheap electricity. I love cheap gas prices at the pump too.
Yeah, I love that. And what's ironic is in California, they're a large oil producing state.
They got everything going for them except good government.
Yeah, well, the place is about to be empty because between fires and excessive taxes and just general bad policy all around, like, not caring if people are shitting in the street in San Francisco, people are just getting the hell out of there.
What's really interesting is at what point do we look at California and it's just like, say, Rio de Janeiro, where you have real haves super wealthy. I mean, obviously Hollywood falls into that, wine country falls into that, Silicon Valley, Hollywood. And then on the other side, you have like total favela projects where they're total have-nots. Of course, San Francisco has a homeless problem because you can't afford homes, housing. So like that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
Well, that's not the only reason why they have a housing problem. It's definitely a big part of it. But, part of the allure of living in California is you've got like, year round 72 degrees, except when there's a fire and then it's, what is it? What was the movie? The 200 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever the hell it was. 500 degrees Fahrenheit. What the
I
hell
don't
was
know,
that
but I'll
movie?
misquote Mark Twain. He said the coldest winter he ever experienced was the summer in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So Frost might be coming on, JNP might be coming on, Hungry Joe. Sub, I'm fully aware the only reason you invited Hungry Joe on is because he's drunker, more filterless, and older than I am, and that hurt.
Joe's actually really fun to hang out with. He was down here a couple months ago, and we went out and had a couple beers together, and that was a blast. I really enjoyed hanging out with him.
Oh, I
And
can see that.
yeah, he's he presents a lot better in person.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that you're ugly.
Well, that goes without saying. Actually,
Oh, look at
I caught
this. Hold on just a second. Go ahead and talk. I'm going to get Hungry Joe on here.
I caught an elbow grappling the other day. Actually, a couple of them because I'm old and slow, and I've got like that little bit of swelling over the eye. And my wife is like, "It looks like an infected pustule," and I'm like, "I took an elbow," and she's like, "That's not what it looks like." So I'm ugly today. You're right. You got it.
Where the hell did he go? I lost his contact already.
You had Joe and lost him. He's probably getting a beer.
No.
Well,
His contact disappeared out of my UI here. I want to add him to the call. Fucking Microsoft.
that's right. I can't believe that after years of like making fun of the evil empire, I now use a Mac because they are the new evil empire.
How do you even get to, like, he just contacted me and I contacted him back and now I can't freaking find him. Oh, here we go. Recent chats. Oh, here it is. All right. So, there's that. This is ongoing calls. So all I'm going to do here maybe is...
It's a plane. It's a train.
Can you hear that?
Oh yeah.
Shit. All right. The kids' bathroom is directly above my office, and that is the sound of plumbing.
Right. Holy shit.
Yeah, it'll get better in a minute when the water warms up. I'm sorry about that. Holy shit. Hold on. Let's see if I can filter that out. Shut up for a second. All right. That may be really... Actually, that's going to suck.
Aren't you wearing a headset?
I am wearing a headset, but the thing is that this microphone is so sensitive, it's picking that up.
You got to take care of your business, Deb.
Yeah.
We should start calling this podcast the Sam Puts His Technical Shit Right Hour. Jesus.
Jesus.
Hungry? Well,
Oh.
now look, you just doxed him. You're off. You're off, and you're not fucking invited back. You see that shit? Your screen just doxed him. You're out of here.
What?
His Skype ID just appeared.
You're kidding, right?
Nope.
All right, let me kill it. 2, 1. Okay, we are back. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a technical issue there, in that some of us don't know how to use our own computers, and that would not be me.
Well,
that would be the other two people that are on the call right now. One of whom
what are you talking about? I'm on.
One of whom you can hear, and one of whom you can't. So, but Hungry Joe says hello to everyone.
This guy has a beautiful head. Yeah. All right. So, Sub, Halloween is coming up, and I hate Halloween for the same reason I hate the Antifa protesters in masks. I don't like people walking around in masks. Makes me nervous.
I don't know. I'm not going to agree with you there. But
like
why don't you elucidate on why you do not like people in masks?
I don't like people in masks because you can't tell who they are, and I think it makes people more prone to do things they think they can get away with because they're wearing a mask. So, like, I don't like people coming up in masks acting like they're going to prank me or mess with me or be funny because I don't really know who they are.
Okay,
And
but there's two different things going on there. So there's two different things going on there. Number one is there's a person wearing a mask, and number two is they're coming up to you with some sort of behavior that indicates that they may want to accost or engage with you in some sort of physical manner that you do not find appropriate.
Right, because...
All right, so that's two different things. So draw a Venn diagram, right? And granted,
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So granted, yeah. So maybe in the middle of summer, somebody coming up to you wearing a mask. Yeah. Okay, I could see that. But like, it's going to be, I think, like 37 degrees here tonight. I don't know, Joe. How cold is it? Show some fingers. For those of you listening in, Joe's having some audio issues, but we have him on video, but we're just not sharing his video. 39. So 39 is going to be Joe's temperature this evening. 39.
Right,
39.
Joe just passed dementia test number 1. He could hold up fingers when requested. He's still with us. All I'm like, look. So if it's Halloween or not, and somebody's in a clown suit, and I'm not just picking clowns. I'm not one of those people that are afraid of clowns. I don't like masks in general. And they like run up like they're gonna do a prank on me. They might get shot. I don't like that shit.
Well, so this is something that we talked about on the very last episode of the podcast on the police shootings, which has to do with, I forget exactly what the legal term is, but yeah, it has to do with reasonable use of force. And so it speaks exactly to, there's a court case, and again, I can't recite it off the top of my head because I'm not a lawyer, but there was a court case that said something to the effect of, what would you reasonably believe was going to happen based on the situation that you were in? What would a reasonable person believe? And is the resulting action thus justified based on that belief? And so there's a court case that actually lines this out. And so, that is a litmus test when it comes to talking about things like castle defense or police shootings or.
Hey, I bet you $1 Rabbit's going to post the case name. He'll go Google it and then post it like he keeps it in his pocket. How much you want to bet?
Well, probably. But, I mean, it's a Supreme Court case. It's not hard to find. I just can't name it off the top of my head because it's not something that I do for a living. It's something that I do for fun. So.
Well, here's my point. Whether it's Halloween or not, and whether they're wearing a mask or not, and 100% of unless you're going to, like, Universal Studios Fright Night or a haunted house, in 100% of the circumstances where somebody runs up to you like they're going to attack you, it is reasonable to take that threat as credible. 100% of the time.
I think it is something that has to be looked at given the entirety of each situation. I don't think you can do anything better than to give a set of guidelines that people can go by for that particular purpose. By the way, since we know that Rabbit is listening, let me just give a shout out. that I do intend to have Rabbit on this very podcast at some point in the near future. So I'm not excluding him this evening. We just had, 2.5 as a crowd.
You didn't invite Rabbit.
I didn't invite Rabbit, but I intend to invite Rabbit to a future episode. And in fact, anyone on the forums that's a regular poster in good standing would be invited.
I don't mind that you didn't invite Rabbit. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out that you didn't invite Rabbit.
I didn't invite him this evening.
I mean,
because
you
I already
like
had, because I thought I was having Frost come on. I thought JMP was possibly coming on.
I was way down your list.
You weren't way down my
First
list.
off, I'm the only fucker that showed up, and I was still way down your list. And I've been showing up every time you're like, "Hey, Gonzo, I got nobody else." I'm like, "Sure, sub, I'll come on." I'm like your booty call of last resort. Jesus.
You're at the bottom.
I don't blame you.
No, but actually,
well,
you keep face planning, so that's why you're on the bottom. I was actually considering inviting BKR on as well. I've been trying to get Omega, but he's been in fight camp for the last couple of weeks, so he hadn't been able to join. Roydy McDouchebag
doing things.
Trying to get him on, but he had some technical issues that he had to resolve as well. And thank you for filling in for him when we couldn't get his shit fixed. Just like we can't get Hungry Joe's shit fixed.
As far as you're concerned, I'm a skinny chicken butt with meth teeth. But you'll still call me when you have nobody else.
Yeah. It's like Carly Rae Jepsen or whatever her name is.
Because I put out. I mean, you can say anything you want, but I put out. I'm like that chick from Saturday Night Fever in the back seat. I'm looking at you with cow eyes, but you have no respect for me whatsoever.
Oh, I have a lot of respect for your loquaciousness.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm not big on Halloween. I love Thanksgiving, though. That's like my favorite.
Well, because you like to eat stuff.
I do.
We covered this. And unfortunately, people on the stream will miss that 30 minutes of really interesting and enlightening conversation, but... I
don't even remember it. I have no memory of it whatsoever.
We had a couple of come to Jesus moments, just like Kanye West.
I don't know much about that dude. That's the black dude that wears the Trump hat.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's how I know him.
He's like probably, arguably, the most financially successful hip hop / rap artist.
Wasn't he bankrupt
of all time?
And then he pulled himself up from that.
Well, obviously he came from, obviously that's not fair. He came from an unfortunate childhood where, they were poor and struggling and there were issues and stuff like that. Now, I'm not a fan of his, I don't really know anything about him other than, just what I've seen and read in interviews and stuff. But he did come, basically out of the ghetto one way or another and, pulled himself up by his bootstraps. And now he's like the most successful hip hop artist ever.
And he's not like R. Kelly out there peeing on people.
I think he did at one point.
Did he?
Yeah. Well, so it's like a growth phase, right? You have to go through. You got to earn the chops. Ooh, what's this? Alternative what? What the fuck was that?
They're listening. Microsoft is definitely listening to us.
Yeah, I know they are because they're like.
Look, Joe's livid. Joe is livid with this shit.
I know. There was just a pop-up from Microsoft saying, "Joe, why the fuck can't we hear you?"
I mean, he has had it.
So did I just? So we have Joe on video, Hungry Joe, and we have Gonzo on audio, and between the two of them, they almost make a good judo player.
Joe completed me. That's right. I don't know what that was, but I'm not hip to that urban. So
All right.
Joe's out there in Oklahoma. Oklahoma has good barbecue. You got to be careful. Oklahoma, Texas. You root for the wrong football team, they'll actually literally castrate you, tear you apart. But I like Oklahoma.
Yeah,
right.
the fuckers won again this year. God damn it. And so they don't call us UT. They call us TU. So it's the OUTU weekend if you live up there.
I know, like when I drove through Oklahoma, all I saw was casinos, like Native American casinos. That's how I measured my trip, casino to casino. Sub, do you gamble?
Wait, hold on. What was that noise? Is that in your house?
Joe, is that you?
No, it's not him. Shit. I thought we had something.
Keep him silent, Sub. No, you got to tell him at some point. To get this delivery. I mean, you got to let him know.
Oh, wait, what's this button right here? Unmute Joe. No, there's not really that button.
So, Sub, are you a gambler?
No, actually, I can't figure that shit out to save my life. I suck at it, so I just don't do it.
Joe, do you gamble? Little bit. Joe gambles a little bit. I love betting on things. I think betting on things makes everything more fun, and I regret that Bullshido is not a forum where we can place bets. Like
well, so
fucking thing.
we had some issues. We had some software issues, but we did actually used to have gambling, and for like every UFC, right? Joe, you remember this, right? We had that, like, you would earn the Verits. So if you hear about the Verits, the Verits were like points that would go into like your piggy bank, and then you could gamble your Verits against other players on the forums as to who was going to win what fight on, whatever, like UFC 198 or whatever.
What about money? What the fuck is a Verit? What about money? Gamble money.
Yeah, no, Verit is reputation, so that's better than money.
No, it's really not. So you can like bet on anything with money, and it makes it fun instantly.
Yep. They have websites that you can go to for that. That's not really in our purview.
Why don't you partner with one of them and like get the rev share? Go monetize this sumbitch. You guys just suck ass at monetizing the site. Go partner with a gambling site and then let us fuckers gamble.
Right, it's interesting that you say that, because right now for sale on our homepage, we have Bullshido hats and Bullshido shirts.
Right. Although those gray hats, those are the ugliest fucking things I've ever seen. The black hats look good, but the gray hats. One of the Bullshido members was on his Book of Face page with his gray hat. I'm like, that is the ugliest fucking hat I've ever seen.
We sold out of the gray hats. The black hats we still have a bunch of.
You don't have a bunch of them. You got like a couple of them.
Joe is
trying to develop a sense of urgency. What is he doing now?
He's telling us that he's going to hang up because he's going to go jerk off or something.
No, he's telling us to go fuck ourselves. Got to know Joe, right? Because he bought a gray hat. Joe bought a gray hat.
Oh no!
Go fuck ourselves. That's right. Sorry, Joe.
Well, he wasn't the guy on the Facebook page. That was a different guy with a gray hat.
No, it was a different guy. But I'm just saying, like, what does gray even go with? What, you got a gray suit you're going to wear your hat with? Your baseball hat? Some boots? You fucking Oklahoma motherfucker, you?
When he puts it on, you can't tell if he's wearing the hat or not.
Right. It's a cover. He's twice as attractive with the hat.
It's camouflage for his skull.
Right. I like the Bullshido symbol. Whoever came up with that actually did a good job, because I like the horns and a little slash and all that. I'm sympathetic to the character of Lucifer, so of course I'm going to like it, but I like that. That's a nice symbol.
Well, that's the V2, and I think that is all Frost. The V1, which
Frost.
is... let's see if I can find a V1 around here to show you.
This is what puzzles me about Frost. Frost is like half a genius. This Bullshido thing is a household word. Did he come up with that? Don't answer that. It was rhetorical. But if he did, he's a genius. But then, like, now he's got to do something with it. He's got a kid. Like, this is actually pretty cool what he got. But, like, now where do you take it?
So, Bullshido is a legal registered trademark in the United States of America. And Frost owns that trademark. So, yes, technically he came up with it. If he didn't, he was the first one to register it, and in the eyes of the law, that's good enough.
Interestingly, I've registered that same trademark all over Asia, and I'm reselling it. Big money. Big money. They love it. The Koreans particularly, they love it. Ask your wife, she'll tell you. K-pop.
Gangnam Style.
That's the docs. I'm out of here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start reselling the Bullshido trademark internationally. That's my new business.
Well, we want 10%.
I'll go like Bullshido EU. And I'll have to find a European rabbit, like some crazy fucker that'll just post after post of garbage and just annoy the fuck out of everybody. But like, Sub, so we've talked about this before. There is some entertainment value to Rabbit. There is.
Well, here's the thing.
I'm not sure if I can comment on that because
there's entertainment value to all of us, right?
Right.
Some of us try to be entertaining in and of ourselves, and some of us...
You suck teasing this up. You're going full Socrates on this.
Oh, yeah, I am. And some of us go and put on a mask, and some of us go and put on a completely different persona. So, from one perspective, kind of live and let live. It's entertaining, it's engagement, keeps people, involved in everything that we're doing. The flip side of that is when it becomes all about just that interaction and no other content outside of it, then it becomes boring. Right. And
the noise
strained.
Signal ratio.
Exactly.
That person. So it's one thing if you're doing entertainment, and I was going to go off on a tangent, but I don't want to commit the same sin you just talked about. If you go on a tangent and it raises the gate, it raises the revenue or the engagement, totally virtuous. Play the heel, play the character. But if it raises the signal to noise ratio to where like it's obnoxious, annoying, and people flee from the gate, well, you fuck that up.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. You've got to find the right balance, which means you have to be attuned with your audience and understand what it is that they want to hear and what it is that they want to engage in. And, it doesn't mean that you have to be exactly that, because then you become, the quote unquote typecast. But it means that you have a set of parameters that people are willing to entertain and engage with. And you can go over the lines a little bit on either side of that, but you really need to kind of stay inside of that fence for the most part, because that's what people are tuning in for and want to watch or read or respond to or engage in otherwise.
So this is something you may know or may not know. I'm sure it'll be used against me later, but nobody's better at this than Gordon Ryan right now. And we preceded him, but he's doing just a bang-up job, and he also accompanies it with the right amount of skill, and it's wonderful to see. It's like old-time hooking, old-time catch wrestling, professional wrestling. But myself and some of my athletes do go on the purse circuit, and it's very similar to professional wrestling, not in the works and the fakes, although that does sometimes happen too, but in the showbiz aspect where, like, we'll play a heel. Either I'll play the heel to my own fighter or my fighter plays the heel. We both play the heel, and it raises the gate. It's total caricature, and like it's very staged. And we've made people, like literally dozens of people at a time, hundreds of people maybe cry, thinking that it was real, but it drives the revenue and the gate and all that stuff. And that's one thing, but I'm not really sure. I don't think that's what Rabbit's doing, and I'm not sure it's an act. I'm not going to comment on that further, but in submission grappling and boxing and professional wrestling and the various levels in between, that's part of the game, that's part of the revenue, and that's a virtue. But there's a way to do it and a way not to do it, and the metric is, did it raise the gate or not? So what, did I bore the fuck out of you? What are you watching there?
No, I pulled up a Gordon Ryan video. I'm talking about Gordon Ryan, I pulled one up.
So people criticize him for his mouth. He's raising revenue. It's all about prize fighting. Is all about the prize. It's incredibly difficult to raise purses in this arena, and raising purses is just as important as what we actually do on the mats. Raising that funding for the athletes and the whole shebang. So one of my black belts, he's got the biggest submission grappling promotion in Florida. Routinely $10,000 purses for the grapplers are in excess, and all that doesn't happen on its own. It's a machine that has to be fed, and talking shit and playing heel is part of that.
Yep. So that's what Sapatera? Is that what it's called?
Correct.
Yeah. So
Which
it's
is the best.
it's okay to you can plug that. That's not your thing. That's somebody else's thing. So
That's right. I'm not on the back end of that at all.
so yeah. So anyone that hasn't competed in like IBJJF, right? You're looking at like if you register like day of the tournament, you're looking at like I think $180. If you register, like 90 days in advance, you're looking at I think maybe $150. But then you're looking at travel expenses and everything else that goes into that. So all that money goes into this thing, and all you get out of it is a shitty T-shirt and maybe a medal, right?
So we didn't do it that way. We did invitation only, bring the fighters, give them a check. And the owner of the Zapatero has a Fuck the IBJJF clothing line. And if I'm disclosing to you, because I know you would never make this live, never, ever.
You were live.
But we're just jealous. Right, I know. We're just jealous of the IBJJF because they're model. I mean, holy shit. If we could do that model, we would have done it. I mean, they're fucking genius.
Whoa.
Let me get this straight.
What's that electrical sound? Joe, your hair is standing up. Was that you?
Joe. What do you got?
That's not me. Is that you, Murph? The Gonzo?
Anything's possible. I'm not aware of it on my end, but anything's possible. Never made a contact point. I don't hear it. All right, do we have some noise?
Dude, that is totally Joe.
Joe, what the fuck are you doing over there? Jeez, it's like the ghost machine. When this guy breaks out, he's gonna cause havoc.
Oh, wait, hold on. There's some nasty feedback coming through now.
It's me.
Let me kill this.
Let's see if it's me. I just came up on you. Is it me?
Oh, it's you. Yeah, it's your...
I hear we shit still.
Oh, great. I lost both of you now. All right. Well, this is gonna come to another abrupt end, unfortunately.
Son of it. I was just gonna go off on how I'm jealous of the IBJJF model.
Oh man. I hope that's not coming through on the stream like that. We're gonna have to go back and review.
I'm gonna wear the better headphones. Jesus.
All right. So hold on. Joe's doing sign language here. It says, Gonzo, your computer sucks worse than mine.
Jesus.
At least I can do video.
I'm getting blamed for everything here. So, there's noise in the line?
Yeah, something weird is going on. You're on a headset?
I am.
There,
I'm on a USB headset. It's wired.
yeah, so I think maybe you're not making good contact on one of the leads or something. It's like, I don't know. Okay, so you sound much better now.
Better now?
Yeah, that's better.
All right. So, of course, we're jealous of the IBJJF model because they got to be raking in serious chank, and people show up and pay and get a medal. So good for them. If we could have done that, we would have done it. And they're the 800-pound gorilla. Good for them.
That's it? That's all you got to say?
Yeah, I mean, so the owner of the Zapatero is the one with the Fuck the IBJJF clothing line, but we respect. I mean, they got a serious business model. Good for them. And it's good for the athletes because it provides them indirect marketing value. You win the Moonjals, you got indirect marketing value for life. We also like to pay the competitors in cash, though. That's what we do.
I'm watching
Joe says,
Joe.
"Fuck you guys."
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have the Dog Brothers. Like, how has Crafty not gotten sued? You should get Crafty Dog on your podcast.
I might do that. That's so he is on our list of people to bring on board.
You should definitely do that.
Like
Those guys,
he's a
when we were
really
doing the Valley-
smart
I'm
dude.
sorry, go ahead.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, he's a really smart dude. Very well spoken.
he's a lawyer.
Is he?
Yeah, he's a lawyer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
I've
Which makes what he does even stranger if you think about it.
I've had many emails back and forth with him. I think a couple of phone calls over the years. He's a really neat dude, and I'm really glad that he's on our forums. He is truly a master of his craft.
Yep. He's actually one of the. If I can be perfectly frank for a second, and no apologies to anybody. There's Crafty. I'm on there. Ben's on there. Race is on there. There's some military guys on there, and some people that with maybe some gunsmithing experience. But like, Crafty's definitely up there. Like, he's part of the reason. Like, I sometimes get something out of the site because Crafty says something. If that makes sense. I'm like waiting for Crafty to talk about Cali Tudo, and for Ben to talk about judo, for Race to make some knucklehead comment because I think he's funny, real guy, and for one of the military guys to tell me something about firearms I didn't know. That's what makes it worthwhile for me to come on the site rather than me just like actually every once in a while saying something that is serious and not just a troll comment.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the wonderful thing about the Bullshido community is we have a wide range of expertise in a number of different fields, right? And so that's why I came up with a clergy tag for Michael Zadok. Was
Now, you
just
didn't
like,
know this about me, but I'm clergy. Did you know that?
are you?
I just officiated a wedding. I'm ordained, baby. And since I've been ordained, there's all
No,
the
but
boys
not
that
like
look
in the.
good.
But you didn't go to like school for a long time to get that. You went on the internet and got like Church of the.
What's the difference between my online?
What is it?
clergy
Church of the
ordination-
Subgenius? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Rabbit's online doctorate. What's the difference?
I don't think it was
You can't
online.
respect one
I
and
think
not
he
respect
actually
the
went
other.
there.
What's that?
I looked at his stuff. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he actually went there. I think he actually did it.
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm saying he went to an online doctorate. Good for him. I'm an online clergy. What's the difference? You don't think I got some clergy to me? Look, at that wedding, I went around to all the young people saying, I got extra marriage licenses. I'll marry you right now. You should have seen them stammer and stutter. It was awesome. I'll marry you. I'm marrying everybody now.
I'll give you this. I looked at the institution of higher learning that he attended, and based on regional, what do you call it, closeness or whatever, I do believe it's possible that he went there. I looked at their tuition, and it would have been quite expensive. Like, he definitely, this is not an online thing. Maybe they have a little an online component to it, but this looked like an in-person, like really accredited.
It's not any of my business. My understanding is it's an online doctorate where there's a residency requirement, and further, the instructors, although many of them got their own degrees from that same institution, which is a little bit odd in academia. It's a real university, and there are some instructors there that know what they're doing. And I'm not saying anything negative about it in any way. Let's be clear about that.
Okay, well, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm an online clergy. What's the difference?
Well, the difference is, did you go through 3 to 4 years of postgraduate
about the
education
study of
in order to get
understanding.
that, or did you just file a form online?
We're talking about the study and understanding of something that can't be measured, sub. We're talking about the ephemeral. We're talking about gods and God. You either have it or you don't, baby.
Yeah, you're kind of losing me. I'll take your word for it, though.
I mean, I'm just saying it. There's a difference between the study of God and the study of chemistry.
So I've been watching what happened here. What's going on? Did he break his nose or something?
Probably. I just reset somebody's nose the other day, and I'm not qualified to do it. Maybe a lip.
You've seen it in the movies. Close enough.
Yeah. I mean, you're not far off. You know what I did for years, actually?
I mean, it's just it's mechanics only on human bodies, right? Anything that you talk about as far as like osteopathy or something like that, like the nose is off and you put it back in. You know, the shoulder's out of joint and you put it back in. Like, yeah.
Did you know this? You probably do because you were in the military, maybe had some training. When somebody has a bad nose injury, you're not supposed to tilt their head back. That's actually very bad.
Right,
they could pinch and tilt it back.
No, you got to tilt their head forward. They could drown in their own blood.
Yep. But I mean, for years I did the tilting back. I mean, maybe it was 10 years ago I stopped doing that. Just like I still do rice. There's a lot of controversy right now about rice, but I'm still a rice guy.
So, yeah. So, like, kind of the common wisdom on that now is that, that's okay to calm, swelling and for immediate triage, but for mid to long-term healing, what you really want is heat because that really increases the blood flow.
Makes sense theoretically. I mean, inflammation is blood flow. Sub, did I ever tell you that I have ears like a Disney princess?
Remember that time that I made all those photoshops of your head?
Right. But I really do. I have ears like a Disney princess, and the reason is A, rice, and B, headgear. I don't let anybody drain my ears. I use rice and take a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, and I use headgear when they get inflamed.
Do you do the magnets?
I don't do the magnets, but I think that that's a theoretically very interesting idea, like a cold magnet, because I have the fighter corner guys kit for MMA where we have the iced metal tools where we actually put that on the fighter's face to bring down swelling, and a magnet where it sticks there 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off makes sense to me.
No, I mean, I mean for like preventing cauliflower, right? So if you get the separation, you put the magnet on either side of the cartilage of the ear,
right?
And that
are the iced magnets? They're magnets you put in the freezer, right?
Oh, I don't know the exact application. I am lucky to not have any cauliflower.
If you're not putting them in the freezer and it's just magnets, I'm going to say bullshit. If it's magnets you put in the freezer and then you put on either side of the ear, again, because I've got a rice bias, I'm going to say, well, that makes sense to me.
Well, yeah. So I mean. Yeah, maybe, because again, like I said, like, for initial triage, that helps bring down the swelling. But from some applications that I've seen over time is it's not just iced, is that, that is an effective way to be able to keep the skin next to the cartilage so that it can heal over time. So that, you don't get the, the bubbles and stuff that are characteristic of cauliflower ear.
Maybe, but I'll talk to you about something else. You know what I think is really strange? That we teach people how to do chokes without teaching them how to do first aid and CPR first. I think that's really strange.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. Especially you talk about like you go in on a Saturday and it's like open mats or whatever, and maybe it's just you and one other guy, right? And you get his back, you choke him out, and boom, now he's not breathing. What are you going to do about it?
I have a colleague of mine who's a black belt, and he was giving somebody a private lesson, and he was in the bottom mount teaching the guy gi chokes, and the black belt instructor on the bottom mount, just the two of them, he went unconscious and started bleeding out of his eyeballs, and thankfully the white belt on top stopped. But I mean, like, I've known several people to have stroked from chokes, and like, so I don't understand why we don't have everybody trained CPR and first aid. It's in the judo book, like you teach them Kapo, which is the opposite of Dim Mak. Dim Mak not really being a death touch, but if you're applying a choke, you should know the Kapo or the resuscitation from a choke. And as we grow in modernity, we should practice the modern techniques, CPR, etc.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great thing that we should probably crusade for. And I think some of that is probably covered in when you actually have an NJB or NGB, like you do in judo, and we don't have that in jiu-jitsu for the most part. I mean, I can't speak. IBJJF is kind of the closest that we have, but I don't know that is actually taught. Maybe it is. Maybe the refs have
they
it.
require
But
people to
if you're just
get
an
as a black
affiliate
belt,
school,
get a
I don't
full
know if
certificate.
you're getting that kind of stuff. Maybe it's a thing where state to state, in order to teach martial arts, you need to have, training for your staff on hand to be able to address these kind of things. I don't know. It's a good question.
So a few months ago, I was in the training room, and I have a high blood pressure, as you know, and I felt something was wrong, and I asked the guy who happened to be an EMT, a young guy. He just became a fireman. I said, "Can you get your blood pressure cuff?" And my blood pressure was way elevated, but I knew to do that, and he knew how to do it, and it's handy to have that in the gym. Like if there's a situation that prevents a stroke, that prevents a heart attack, and I didn't grapple for the rest of the practice actually because my blood pressure was like, I don't know, 200 over something. It was good enough to go to the ER, but I felt it. I had him take it. We confirmed it, and then I stopped grappling. So like that's how we don't end up with a headline like so and so died on the mats.
Yeah, I'm watching. You
He's
see,
a
they had
savage,
another
isn't he?
stoppage for his nose.
I'm a big Gordon Ryan, Gary Tonin, Danaher, Death Squad fan. I'm a fan for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm American. I like to see Americans win. If you don't like that, fuck you. Number two,
You like the
I
legs.
think they're technically good. It doesn't bother me to do leg locks. I don't think that's the only thing to do, but I like the fact that they're hunting submissions. I like Gary Tonin is a phenomenal stand-up guy. If you didn't know that, in my opinion, he's a great wrestler. I'm not saying he's Olympic great or he might not be upper echelon college level great, but he's at least a college level wrestler in my opinion. That guy can Granby out of break falls on a wood floor. If you ever watch him, I'm a total fan.
He's got like a neck crank on it. Yeah. So these higher level guys, that you mentioned, I think one of the things that they bring is, I don't want to really say showmanship because I don't think for the most part that they're showing off, but they bring a flashiness to it that makes the for the spectators, it makes it more visually interesting, right? So BJJ, as you know, and most of our listeners know, both of them are is a very highly technical sport, and there are a lot of things that going on in areas that you can't even see. There's these very subtle movements like that may not even show up. It's just a feel between the two competitors that something has happened, right? So to kind of have a little bit more flashiness, I think it brings more people into the sport, makes it more visually interesting. So from a marketing perspective, yeah, these guys are great.
Absolutely. Not only that, but just to give you a little insight into the class act Gary Tonin is, Marcel Concalves, who interestingly enough made it onto my pedophile list. But he was a promoter, and he was a guy that actually I personally sponsored, and also as he was coming up as a young man, like ex officio, unofficially, gave him some mentoring tips, was really excited about his future as an athlete, as a coach, as a person, and as a tournament promoter. So I gave him a little sponsorship for his tournament, and Gary Tonin, although Marcel did make it on my pedophile list, and I'll have to check to see what the disposition of his case was, but he admitted to the cops he bediddled a 15-year-old girl. But Gary Tonin lost a match on points. Marcel put together a very interesting tournament format where you could push the guy off the mat and get points for it, kind of like sumo, which I'm for. That shows aggression. You throw the guy off the mat, you should get a point for it. Remember the old Jean-Claude Van Damme, you throw the guy off the Kumite stage, you win. So I'm for that kind of thing. And Gary Tonin lost to a fella, and he's a fighter that fought out of that guess the African American coach who got in trouble himself for some rape claims at his gym. He put together the manual of the 3-year black belt. His name's escaping me right now.
I know who you're talking about. Everyone here knows who you're talking about.
Yeah, but a very good athlete who's actually he's the Danaher Death Squad killer. Every time he fights one of the Danaher Death Squad guys, he beats him. And he's like throwing Tonin off the ring, and Tonin's Granbying out on the wood floors, and he lost the match on points. It was a very good match. And Tonin electively fought Coco Enriquez, or whatever the fuck his name is. God bless him. He's down in South Florida. He electively fought him for the pleasure of the crowd. Coco, who also lost, and Gary lost, and he said, let's have one more fight for the crowd. They did it to like give the crowd a show. And it was a vicious, vicious match. And Gary, there was no purse, and that guy, if I was his manager, I'd say, don't do it. You gotta save your body for the purses. But they did it purely for the pleasure of the crowd, and they gave their all. And Coco probably went away with a busted leg because Gary had him in a heel hook, and Coco just didn't tap. He let his knee pop, 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 pop. Yes. And it was just a vicious match and a wonderful match. And so, I think Gary and Gordon really do care about the crowd and the fans, and they're getting paid, but they're earning it. And then they show a ton of respect to the crowd with all their shit talk, a ton.
I think we lost Joe.
You lost me?
No, I think we lost Joe.
No, we did lose Joe. I mean, that's sad, but he'll resurrect. He's like a vampire. You can't kill him.
Yeah, but he left his computer on.
He just wandered off. He's like,
empty chair.
I'm getting a whiskey. Hell with you guys. All right, so Sub, one other thing I want to cover. I'm going to cover this again. Now, look, there's a lot of guys on the Bullshido website, and even in your own introduction, and by the way, I think it's a great introduction. It's a little bit long, but it was very well put together.
Okay, that you're talking about the minute and a half of the sirens blaring and people talking and whatever. That's not my intro. Yeah. That's Frost.
Well, blame him then. It's very well put together, but it's very long. You guys talk about peer reviewed, and a lot of the guys in the forum are like, post a peer reviewed link or post a link to the media, and that's fine. And even somebody just today, Lantern, as a matter of fact, said, well, we don't want to rely on anecdotal evidence. That's wrong. The right anecdotal evidence is very, very useful. Frameworks are useful. And when we live in an age where if we took just one discipline, that's a pseudoscience discipline. It's not science. It's not total garbage. It's in between, psychology. If 2/3 of their peer-reviewed research fail to replicate when replication attempts are made, posting a peer-reviewed article is not proof. You have to look at the article. You have to look at their data. Like you take the climate change research. You have to look at their data set. What the hell have they done to their data set? In psychology, did anybody replicate that, and how many times was it replicated? So posting a peer-reviewed article from an academic journal or a research journal is not good practice. It's not best practice. It may be convenient. You may say it's good netizenship, but from the perspective of somebody that actually lives in that environment, for better or for worse, I'm saying unless you take that article, you tear it apart, you look at the data and all that stuff, it's still pseudoscience. I'm throwing that out there. I'm putting that marker in. So you can post it for discussion, but that's not proof. That's not even close to proof. Because when you look at psychology, just as one discipline, 2/3 of their articles fail to replicate. That's worse than a goddamn coin flip. So they're definitely pushing smoke. Posting a peer-reviewed psychology article is no different than posting something from Breitbart. Not much different. You have to tear into it. If you're saying it's science. If you're just posting and say, hey, take a look at this, that's fine. But we can't say somebody makes a post and posts a link to a quote-unquote peer-reviewed article from any discipline, let alone psychology, and that's a higher quality post. Well, you put a link there, that's a discussion point, I'll grant you that, but that don't make it science. To make it science, you got to tear into that article. Who else replicated it? What was their data set? Check it all. Otherwise, it's still pseudoscience.
Right. So I can totally get on board with what you're saying there. I totally understand where you're coming from. I know exactly the conversation that you're talking about. And I definitely agree with you. If you got someone that has a proven track record of replicable results, right, over decades, then, maybe he doesn't have a peer-reviewed journal entry, but holy shit, he's been doing this exact same thing for financial gain for decades. Obviously, he's got some understanding of the way things work that is beneficial, and you should take every advantage of, I don't know if you want to call it knowledge, but definitely the experience there, right? Because the experience itself becomes part of the learning process, right? So you can start to frame a hypothesis based on experience. It's just data, right? So what you got from talking to this guy that you were talking to is data. And you were able to put that data into practical effect, and to your benefit, right?
Well, I'll touch on
And
that since you brought it up.
that is science.
Yeah, I'll touch on that since you brought it up, and then I want to bring it to the reverse point, and then I'm going to wrap it up because my wife doesn't kill me. But so this old beekeeper told me, don't pollinate the crops, and these other guys are using queens and bees that were bred for docility over the past 200 or 300 years. Africanize your bees. Don't pollinate the crops with the neonicotinoid pesticides. Don't medicate them. Let the weak ones die off. 3 years later, I mean, in my own little experiment with 600 beehives, that proved to be correct. But now I want to bring the larger point, which is the contrary. It would be a worthy Bullshito podcast topic, the official Bullshito podcast, to discuss how the peer review system is horribly, horribly broken, corrupt, wrong, not reliable. That's a big skepticism issue, because you can't rely on that source as truth. You have to recognize whatever article is posted is likely bullshit. It may not be bullshit in every regard, but it's going to be bullshit in some regard, and it may be totally bullshit. So somebody posting a link to a peer review article, that is not proof. That's a start, not a finish.
Right. Well, so it depends on the context, right? So if we're having a societal argument, that would be complete bullshit. If we're arguing on the internet, where the end goal of that argument is to win the argument on the internet, then maybe that is enough. So, but I think that would be an excellent topic, and you have just recruited yourself to present it. So
I'll do you one better. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to be in that chair. But if you want, I'll get my faculty mentor, who is a Harvard doctorate himself, or some other people that have gone on the warpath on this, because there's widespread academic fraud, poor tenure, people publishing just to be incestuously cited. So I'll glad to be a guy with some credential on there. I'll do that. But I'm also glad to get you somebody better and to be absent, because this is a real issue.
No, I don't disagree. And I think it's a wonderful idea. And I'll pitch it. It's not like we have, so the ideas that we have for our podcasts are like, basically a meritocracy. Like, what do you got? Okay, let's do this. Sounds great. So, that sounds like something that is completely in line with the overall goals of Bullshito being not just about martial arts anymore, but also incorporating science and politics and truth in just about anything. And so that lines up very well with the kind of things that we want to talk about. So why don't you and I sync up offline and try and get that together for one of the next podcasts? I think that would be great.
That sounds fine, and you have my commitment. If I can, I'll try to bring on the Harvard doctorate. And even though he's a Harvard DBA, there's a better guy than him to talk about it, and he would agree. And there's a few better guys that have really gone on the warpath on the serious systemic flaws in the peer review system. And I think it'd be worthy for a few podcasts, but I'll see what I can do. All that being said, Sub, my wife has shut out the lights. She hates jiu-jitsu people. She hates you by extension, and she doesn't like me being on this podcast. She sometimes wakes me up by sharpening the kitchen knives over top of me. I'm going to sign off.
All right. Well, Gonzo, thank you for coming on and saving my ass yet again. Even though we did have some visual moral support from Hungry Joe. Thank him also for coming online. Unfortunately, we had some other technical issues, so not everyone that we wanted on was on, but we're working on that. And we will see you next Tuesday. This has been Members Only with Sub Messenger.
Good night.
Good night.